Welcome to Feedback here on New Year's Eve, on the precipice of a new decade, a new year, January 1st. Yes, it's exciting. And here to feel all the excitement, we have Patrick Klepek, Abby Hebe, and Andrew Pfister. Thanks so much for once again taking the time out of having any fun, celebrating the imminent change of the year to spend it with us and to inform our viewers of what we think about video games.
We're all drunk.
Yes.
Totally.
No.
Totally.
This is how fun we are when we're drunk.
Exactly.
Wow, party.
We get really serious and talk about games.
Me, I just talk about games slightly louder. So there have been quite a few big announcements. I mean, we always say, like, oh, yeah, there's no news at the end of the year. But no, we actually have even more games we now know about for perhaps 2010, 2011. Patrick.
Yeah, there was quite a few announced this month. Spec Ops The Line finally got confirmed, which is 2K's reboot. Batman Arkham Asylum 2, I'm not sure if they'll call it that, but that kind of came out of nowhere. The reboot that no one really wanted, True Crime, is coming. Harmonix announced Green Day Rock Band, and then there was also Tron Evolution.
And Star Wars The Force Unleashed.
And Star Wars
2.
The Force Unleashed 2.
Yes, which some of these make complete sense because they sold very well. But let's talk about Spec Ops: The Line because I had to scratch my head to remember sort of the lineage of this title. I mean, where is it coming from?
It was a PC shooter franchise. It also had a series of releases on PS1 that you can download on PlayStation Network right now.
I noticed that the other night.
I'm not
Convenient.
I was
I
curious.
would not recommend that you do this, but if you'd like to spend $7.99 revisiting Spec Ops,
If you want to invest in bulimia and need something to actually instigate, the puking, yes, play some of these PS1 shooters on a nice television.
It's a great New Year's Eve game.
That trailer was cool.
I think it's a cool setting. The idea, like Dubai and like the sandstorm. I think I had very modest expectations before I saw the trailer, but then having seen the trailer, the way the sand is working as a gameplay element, they actually found a legitimate, interesting new setting that is modern without feeling like it's riffing off of Call of Duty.
But what about sort of what we've talked about in the past with Medal of Honor is like this Modern Warfare 2 effect that everyone's kind of now finally getting in line with these kind of Middle Eastern based modern shooters. I mean, are they all going to start to look the same, and are they kind of a little bit behind the curve in terms of where the general interest is for this subject matter?
Yeah, but I think, watching the trailer, I don't get like an Iraq or an Afghanistan vibe at all. Dubai, and especially what's going on with Dubai in reality.
Yeah.
It sets a very modern, which they probably weren't anticipating when they originally were developing this game. But it's very distinctive and it's different and it feels modern, but it's not the same stuff that we're seeing, we saw our first look at Medal of Honor and it kind of looks like what we expected it to look like. And I think it's distinctive enough that I don't think it's going to have that issue whatsoever.
I think it's funny that more people associate Spec Ops, though, now with Modern Warfare, just because that's a whole big part of the campaign.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Now, Batman Arkham Asylum 2, I think this isn't a shock that they're going to make one. I think to learn about it so quickly and that they commit to it, because we always wonder why they have to wait a year to like state the obvious. They waited 5 months, I think, to actually. I mean, was there anything of value that we could actually glean out of the trailer that we've seen?
There's a lot of fan hints because really this game probably doesn't exist anything more than this cinematic trailer or some like prototyping. The game was more or less a surprise hit. But there are things if you go and read through like the user comments on our website. There are hints. It seems like Two-Face is probably going to be a central villain. One of the environments that it pans over is a reference to the Penguins, like one of the bars he owns. So they've kind of given. I mean, it very much seems like here's a cinematic trailer hinting at stuff we're going to be building, but we can't show you any of it because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Now, the fact that it's Arkham Asylum 2, it's obviously. I don't know. It was always difficult to realize, would they go back to the island again and use, the same environment, or would they actually have to go into Gotham proper? I mean, it's interesting. I mean, in terms of how they're going to name the game, that seems to present a few
you can always
challenges.
have them escaping Arkham and going into the city.
Exactly.
That's a very
It started
common
Arkham.
plot line of
Yes.
Batman.
Oh no, that building that's so old that no one reinforces broke loose again.
There was such a wealth of characters in Arkham Asylum that, like, oh my god, they just have so many to choose from. There were characters in that game that I was like reading through all of the bios on them. I was like, really? I don't have any recollection.
really
of that
want to
one.
see 'em.
And exactly. I was
Tweedledee and Tweedledum?
wasn't that our complaint? Is that we were hoping we would see more in Arkham Asylum? I mean, and it wasn't a bad complaint. It was just, oh god, I want more of this.
And they had great references, like if you found Clayface, Like, and he's not a main character, but they do like a really subtle thing where you encounter him as Commissioner Gordon behind a wall, and then when you look at it in detective mode, you realize it's Clayface.
Right.
Like that's awesome. But like immediately we're like, oh, I wish he was in the game, you know, proper.
I think that was what my biggest issue with that game was is that there was so much of that awesomeness in the beginning, and it did lead me to believe that it would somehow come to something at the end. It was great to learn about the characters, but I think my own expectations went so high that it just could never reach that.
Yeah, I mean, I would have played that game for like 80 more hours. You could have just kept throwing things at me. I would have kept going.
But one thing I learned that Batarang is obviously a very powerful weapon. Very, very, very powerful. I don't want to go through all of these that were announced, but Green Day Rock Band, I think, surprised a lot of people just because that's the last time there was a band-specific rock band, it was the Beatles, and no one's going to really, dispute the value of doing that. Green Day.
The guy in our reader comments.
Well, let's read. Okay, let's read
Get this one out of the way.
CT Aviix. Metallica and Beatles are the only two bands that have deserved their own games thus far. Aerosmith, Van Halen, Green Day, you are not worthy. Oh, hold on. Let's read a parenthetical. And I can admit that despite hating the Beatles is overrated trash.
How old are you?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's like, English scholars in college trying to dismiss Joyce. I mean, you don't do it. Get some hair on your chest, kiddo.
But I think the guy brings up a point,
Yes, he does.
larger in that, Harmonix very quickly said this is going to be exportable. It sounds like this is what we're also going to get out of Pearl Jam. They've already announced that they're doing some sort of project with them, which I know would make Andrew very happy. And I guess if this comes out as a $60 disc, I think people are going to take issue with that, especially if they're setting it up. They're announcing it's exportable. It's not going to be DLC. You're going to have to buy the disc and export it and possibly pay a fee to do that. But if it's less than $60, if it's sort of like a track pack, but that has got some environments and it has got the models. As long as they position it differently than it being like a Beatles, like that's like a $60 mammoth. Like they've set the bar really high. I think they've sort of eliminated their ability to get away with charging $60
and
or
really,
something like that.
No other band aside from the Beatles is worthy of that. I mean, if you want to take something like Green Day or Metallica or Pearl Jam or Van Halen, just do it on a smaller scale. Like you don't have to do this full marketing promotion package. You don't need to have Van Halen
that was
come
the
out at
issue
E3 and
with Van Halen too. Was that like you start off the game with kind of the older character models, and you're like, why is Wolfgang on stage?
Yeah,
and the extra tracks that they threw in there to kind of fill it out are god awful. Some of them just crushing my soul.
And is it Weezer bizarrely in that game?
That's
not
the
Weezer.
highlight.
But why is Weezer in Van Halen?
Why is Yellow Card in Van Halen?
Yeah.
Why is
Isn't
Third Eye
Stacey's
Blind
mom
Stacy's mom?
Yeah.
Who picked that?
What?
And why?
I mean, I could say I was influenced by Van Halen, but I don't think that if anyone did a track pack of my work that I would expect to want to have
I was
Van
going to say,
Halen
I'd rather
in
see
there.
you in the game than Wolfgang.
Adam, what would be in your track pack?
See, that's the thing is they're never going to be able to do the game that I want to do.
Because no one would buy the game.
Because
that
I love Nick Cave and Tom Waits and Leonard Cohen and anyone who's singing Kurt Weill or something like that. So couldn't they have like an angry, slightly drunk sounding crooner game?
Oh, we have DLC.
We'll call it Thought Rock.
That could be a track pack, like a drunk pack.
Yeah, that could definitely be a track pack.
But the thing is that
I would
most
buy
of those
that.
guys, if you listen, there's no real instruments. Like half the time, Tom Waits will just use like his dresser drawers as like his percussion. So
You can
how are you
scan it.
Adam
Scan
Sessler
it
selling
in with the
worthless
tall.
peripherals
I mean,
in
think about that.
2010.
But that's how you finally see me on X Play doing it. Is if I could get up there and do Jockey Full of Bourbon, boom, hey little bird, fly away home. House is on fire. Your children all alone. I love that song. Tron Evolution. I'm going to read a quick comment from our user, Deck Crash. He says, here's hoping we'll have a movie-based video game that won't suck. I'm actually excited over this game, but then again, that's probably just because it's Tron. Usually, I couldn't care less about movie-based games, seeing how even the nicest-looking ones somehow find a way to suck. There was the Tron game that was on the PC, and outside of how it looked, I cannot remember much else about it. Was it fun?
I'd never played it. I always wanted to because I heard it was really fun, and I heard that they did the light cycle stuff really well.
That's what I
Monolith did it.
Yeah, Monolith.
Yeah, I mean, it is a neat environment. Now, I think that's the one thing I do also remember from the game is it's so cool to be in that environment in the beginning, but you kind of only have that environment. There's only so many ways that you can try to change things up.
12 hours of neon lights kind of.
You can't
wears
have
on
a
you.
lava level in Tron.
No.
It is one of the problems there.
And I guess we're
Digital ice.
This is coming from Propaganda Games, which is the guys that did the Turok reboot and then had Turok 2 canceled.
Yeah, I mean, Turok had potential, but it did not.
Everything with dinosaurs has potential.
Yeah,
Adam.
I know.
Good point.
We just had someone
Jurassic
actually.
the Hunted. I will buy that because it has dinosaurs.
I'm going to.
Somebody recently
Dino
wrote
D-Day.
into X-Play wanting to know about Primal Rage.
Really?
Yeah,
I saw that.
and
Like,
I didn't know if I had just gone absolutely crazy and forgot.
I
This
have
is the game where the people turned into the creatures halfway
Yeah.
through the fighting game.
I have a sad soft spot for that game. Like, I loved Primal Rage. I know it's bad, and I've never played it
I still have a
since.
copy of it.
I've never played it since, but that is a game that I would not play, but would happily buy as an Xbox Live Arcade downloadable.
Fair enough.
But he seemed to
admitted.
think that there was a sequel that was once upon a time in the works and was long awaited. It's one of those moments where
Well,
I thought maybe
long
I was
awaited.
missing the boat on something. So, okay, well, that's enough for dinosaurs and Tron and all that stuff. What we are going to talk about is quite relevant to what we were just discussing in terms of the games that have just been announced is games of 2010.
there's a lot of them.
Yay.
Yeah, and they're coming very soon.
A lot of them are, yeah.
I mean, this is usually the point where we would all be getting together going, what the hell are we going to do in January?
Christmas 2.0.
Yeah, and instead we're actually seeing a lot of games. And but before we talk about games that we're actually looking forward to, I mean, I worry that this amazing influx of games, and the big one that really gets me is that you're going to have Mass Effect 2 followed 1 week later by BioShock 2, that what we've always wanted to see, which is the rollout of strong titles throughout the year, it's gone so overboard that it's going to backfire. I mean, is this something you're worried about?
I put together a list, and we're just coming off our award season for this year. And if you just look at the action adventure candidates for next year, Super Mario Galaxy 2, Metroid Other M, Bayonetta, Mass Effect, Dante's Inferno, BioShock 2, Lost Planet 2, Dead Rising 2, Splinter Cell Conviction, Yakuza 3, Red Dead Redemption, Alan Wake, Heavy Rain, Last Guardian, God of War 3, Crackdown 2, Mafia 2, Metal Gear Solid, Peace Walker, Max Payne 3, Prince of Persia.
And that's what we know about.
For action adventure.
Yeah.
Action adventure, one category.
I mean, it's
And the problem is that, you know, we've always wanted stuff spread out. This isn't planned. Like, this is a result of delays due to the economy, resulting in a bunch of games getting crunched into the beginning of 2010, as opposed to, you know, how the movie industry does it, where it's, you know, they've announced, they stake a claim a year early, like that's when that game's coming out. Other games revolve around it. This is all sort of, we're seeing weird delays or quiet delays like Alpha Protocol, where companies are just sort of shifting things around because the industry is kind of getting forced just by necessity into doing things all year round. But it's not going to be like at least until 2011 that we see the industry actually doing that. And I think this may be the start of seeing companies try to, you know, Call of Duty did that. They staked the date, and like you knew when Call of Duty was coming.
That's what Hollywood does.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I remember the original Transformers movie. It was like 2 years ahead of time. They actually
But
said, it's
that's
coming out
why they
now.
can do it. It's like, and the games industry, you know, we've talked about this a bunch of times, doesn't announce things early enough so that can happen.
Right.
Without announcing it that early, you're all fighting for that September. You're waiting for Halo Reach to announce its release date so you can figure out yours. Just announce your game, and then things will fall around it.
And because the games are a much bigger undertaking and they require more time, and you know, than movies do, and I think it just makes it harder to pin down a release date on them.
I think the other is that I think the nature in which these games are invested in is that they want to see a return on that investment so fast, whereas with the movie, they can sit with that thing going either through fine-tuning or being on the shelf to give it a more selected release date that they think will assure them a certain amount of sales. I mean, I think it goes both ways. One of the games that I just mentioned that's coming out so soon, Mass Effect 2, which I'm very excited about because I really love Mass Effect. We'll talk about a game in a second. January 26th, this is the one game that really puzzles me because this is the one I would really expect to see at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And January is the time of year when you don't even have enough marketing time to, I think, get people aware of the fact that it's coming out because people's schedules are all off. So you don't have the same way to reach people, you know, the very end of December and the very beginning of January.
Well,
I mean,
when did Resident Evil 4 come out for GameCube? Wasn't that a January game?
Yeah.
I thought it was more like March.
No, it was
I thought
January.
it was January.
No, that was 5. 5 was
Five
closer to March.
was March.
Yeah.
Okay.
But 4 was January.
And the thing is, this almost feels in some ways accidental because Dragon Age was supposed to come out in the spring, got
That's
delayed
what I
to
was
the
wondering.
fall. And I think just based on BioWare's rollout, you know, they gave Dragon Age the fall spot. The Mass Effect almost assuredly could have reached that. I mean, if it's coming out end of January, they could have gone
It would have
sometime
been
in
ready.
November.
And it is worth pointing out that EA's fiscal year end is March 31st and not December 31st.
Yeah.
So there is a strategic, you know, reasoning for them to want to do that. Let's talk about the game itself. You were just recently up in San Francisco.
Yeah, I got a chance to play the first 90 minutes of the game, and it's coming along really impressively. It's very, you know, they're very honest that they heard a lot of the feedback from the first one, and it seems with Mass Effect 2, they're very much positioning it as they know they're going to get the RPG guys. Like they know they've already got us hooked.
I heard there might be more shooter.
Well, there's not. I wouldn't say the shooter stuff is far more polished. It's got just simple things like when you are running, and if you run into a piece of cover, you automatically will go into cover. Just things that you expect from a shooter. And it seems very much with Mass Effect 2, they know they're going to get the RPG guys, but they want to be able to present this game as a competent shooter, which is why all the RPG stuff you like, you can stop the battle, you can assign things to different enemies and to your teammates, but you don't need to do that. There are ways the game pre-assigns that. Like now, one of the really cool things is that if there's a power you really like from your teammate, you can assign that to left and right on the D-pad. So you can aim up, be shooting, hit left on the D-pad, and then it'll do the power you like, as opposed to having to. And so they're making it more shooter happy, but all the RPG stuff you like hasn't gone away. It's kind of like New Super Mario Brothers. They promoted it as a multiplayer game, but that single player stuff you like is
a Mario game right there. I mean, are either of you two? I mean, I can't remember if you were a big fan of the original Mass Effect or not.
I had some problem with the vehicle combat.
Really? It must have been only you.
Must have been just me.
Sterling hates it. Sterling hated the vehicles more than anything in that game, I think.
I mean, that was
my least favorite.
it was truly challenging, and all I needed was that other access to move my cannon on.
Yeah.
But
and I actually played pretty far, and then I just got to one planet, and there was this vehicle thing, and I just went, oh god. No.
I stopped that game about twice from the beginning and started through.
Well, yeah, and I think as you said, what I've gathered from the guys at BioWare is that they were very sensitive and aware of this, and that this is much closer to the game that they had envisioned making.
And I will say they have not shown any vehicle stuff yet, so it is possible that is going to be downplayed, or maybe it's been completely revamped. But they've been showing off the improved combat and new stuff you can do in conversation, but vehicles are not something they have really talked about.
I would assume that if there are vehicles in this, it will not behave like the Mako. I mean,
I'm sure.
There's no way anyone could be oblivious to what went wrong there. Patrick, let's start with you. Is there a game that's tickling your fancy?
Well, this is one that it's a bit of an oddball, but Mega Man 10, the fact that it's coming out makes me so
Mega Man
freaking
nerd.
happy. Aww. And I know, I don't understand that response, but
that was adorable. You got all excited.
I thought you were giving me like a.
It wasn't patronizing. It was just like,
we're just gonna hug you a little bit after the tape in there.
I mean, Mega Man 2 is my favorite game of all time, like bar none. And it's a game I go back and play every year, and so it's just. Mega Man 9 is not a particularly good Mega Man game. It's just I don't mind the fact that it's not a good Mega Man in so much as that I just enjoy the fact that it's a new 8-bit Mega Man. Like they ran out of ideas. It's like the new robots. Like there's just nothing they can do. There's nothing else to mine. And that the fact that Mega Man 10 is leading off with Sheep Man, confirms that they just don't have much more to mine. But that doesn't make it any less cool that they're making another Mega Man old school game that'll cost $10, which is what they charged for the first one, a great price, and it's downloadable, and it's a new 8-bit game. I would still like to see them do like a new Mega Man X, because I would love to see them do.
I was going to ask if you were happy if it was 8-bit again and not like
I would like
16-bit. Yeah,
it seems inevitable that they will do that.
Yeah.
But I'm happy with another 8-bit one.
Let's read a comment from DPSX7, who I think is sharing your feelings here. Yes, more 2D gaming from an excellent series, no less. I hope they keep the difficulty slightly high.
Slightly high,
like Mega Man 9.
Slightly, really?
That game wasn't that hard, but it was fun like the original NES games.
That guy is a liar.
That
guy is a
or
liar.
He's the best Mega Man
really
player
good.
ever in the world.
Yeah, that game, ow.
Mega Man 9 has an achievement for beating the game without getting hit once.
We should ask that guy.
I should look and see. I'm going to save that story idea.
Yeah, we need to see if that guy, is there someone who actually got that achievement? I mean, that's sort of achievements in DOA Extreme 2.
Yeah, but that was just broken.
Yeah, but still, it's a hard achievement. Obviously, I've talked about on the show how I miss my platforming so much, and so the Return of Mega Man does.
It's that, and just that Capcom has been one of the companies to successfully. Mega Man 9 and 10 could not exist unless they targeted them as $10 downloadable games.
Which is perfect.
It wouldn't survive as a retail product, and it's just really encouraging. Like it's one of those things that I want to see more of, and I'm surprised that they're already getting around to a second one, and we haven't seen more companies kind of pick up on this trend.
Abby, what is the pick for you for
Crackdown
2010?
2.
Crackdown 2.
Yes, Crackdown 2. Crackdown 2.
You're-
Crackdown 2.
You're,
Crackdown 2.
you're exploding almost like I did.
I know.
On the
Yeah,
complete
here's a
other
game-
end of the spectrum.
I know. Well, I think it's disappointing that it's not, Real Time Worlds, obviously, because they're working on APB, but which is also exciting because I really enjoyed a lot of the work that they've done.
And that really could be next year too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exciting.
But at the same time, I think they have a great development team behind them, and I love Crackdown, and I'm really excited. And this is a year where I'm really nervous about a lot of games coming out because it's kind of messy. It's like this year, I knew Left 4 Dead 2 was going to be good. I knew Modern Warfare was going to be good. This year, I'm like, oh God, please don't screw them up. Please don't screw them up. There's so many franchises that are coming out this year that I really love and really want to see be great.
Well, we both got to play Crackdown.
Yes,
2
we
at
played
TGS.
Crackdown in Tokyo.
And what was your verdict?
Oh, it was fun.
I mean, they showed us the multiplayer, which and they showed us deathmatch, which you think might not work, but I think largely it was.
And they showed us
physics.
a chunk of the single player as well.
Yeah, but the physics really changed, like the multiplayer, even on just a deathmatch level, where I was like, I don't normally think I would like stuff like this. Like I was gonna, throw it in like kind of the Uncharted pile, but no, like it's different enough that I think people are gonna dig it.
You could just stick me on a map and give me the agility orbs, and I would be happy
Yeah,
all day.
Just the
There's
agility
some
orbs?
very
Just
simple
agility,
pleasures to be
that's all
had in
I
Crackdown. Now, the original game, I think, took Microsoft by surprise. I mean, that thing, and you know what? That was one of the original early releases. That was February, I believe, of 2-3 years ago.
Yep.
Which I think has also helped us learn to love it so much because it was that or Lost Planet, and I can only take so many falling down animations in my lifetime.
Agreed.
No, but they, I think, had to go to another developer because, Real Time Worlds was already tied up with APB, and no one knew that there was going to be this kind of a demand for a sequel to Crackdown. I mean, I think it would be hard for them to screw this one up unless they undo all those very simple, basic elements.
Well, it's really
that work so
interesting because there's a completely different dynamic to this one. Whereas before you just kind of had, the gangs. This one has like the zombies at night that come out, and so you're kind of never. I honestly liked my moments of peace. I like being able. I hope you're still able to shut off everything in the world and kind of just explore on your own. But yeah, they've added a completely different dynamic to the game. There's also some really crazy stuff that we saw. There's like a grapple gun, and they were holding cars up between the streets, and it seemed there's a lot of games that I don't really play around in because I feel very compelled by the kind of linear story to stick along that path. Even in GTA now, I know friends that spend hours just kind of doing whatever they want, and I feel like I have to get things done.
Yeah,
and
I'm the same way.
what I love about Crackdown is that I totally explored. I was jumping off things and blowing stuff up, and I think they provided this game with a lot more tools to do that and some really creative ones. And I'm just really interested to see how it'll come together.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and the one thing that I think was the primary complaint about the first Crackdown is that there was such a rich world and there wasn't enough of a narrative thrust to kind of drive you through. But the gameplay was so compelling. It's like they could have told me to do anything. And
I never found myself really wanting a narrative thrust in Crackdown.
And it wasn't very linear.
Yeah.
I killed the final boss in the game basically before I'd even beaten other one.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't really. I was just kind of having fun.
It was funny. There were definitely
co-op,
times that I thought were harder, but I think it was harder because I just happened to approach it from a different angle, and that's
Right.
my challenge. Because I was having a hard time with that final boss, and I just threw a couple of grenades, and I'm like, oh, I did it! Yay, go team!
And the co-op makes that super fun too. Because
Yeah.
I was just, it was a great way. I played with so many friends in that game.
4
just
players is going to be ridiculous.
It's going to be awesome.
We're going to read a comment on Crackdown 2 from Bloodstorm. I love the first one. Nothing like leaping entire buildings and feeling completely superhuman in a large open world. It looks like they really improved on the original. The 5 agents running around at the same time is awesome. And I'm hoping that means more than 2-player co-op, which we have confirmed here. It is 4-player co-op. And maybe even the ability to have AI partners to fight alongside of. I understand that. I'm a lonely guy. So I will I'll throw something in there for that. Either way, I will buy this. The first game was a surprising hit, halfway bought for the Halo 3 beta. That's right.
Yeah.
That's
I
why.
forgot about that. That was the other draw.
Yeah, that was the draw.
Trojan horse.
But then it turned out to be worth it in its own right. Hoping for some even sweeter agent cars. Those cars are so much fun. Felt like being Batman cruising around in his various vehicles, only cooler, and without any preteen lovers. I mean, sidekicks.
Wards.
Hey.
Oh, Dick.
Silence.
So there we are with Crackdown 2. Andrew, is there anything that you have a great love for?
I got a couple that we can't really talk about because we don't have that much information because they're from Nintendo, which of course does not give information about their games. Super Mario Galaxy 2 and Metroid Other M, both of them probably 1 and 2.
See, Metroid's the other one that I'm super nervous about because it was really exciting at E3 when you saw like Team Ninja and Nintendo. What? But at the same time, I love that franchise and I will be crushed if this isn't good. And so far, all we've seen is like these these really actiony sequences. And I'm like, I hope it doesn't forget that that's a lonely game.
The first time I saw the trailer at E3, I was incredibly stoked for it. And then I watched it a couple days ago doing my list for stuff next year. And I kind of started to wonder how much of Team Ninja stuff is going to be in this. I don't really want Samus as a voice acting part. There's a little girl. I don't know what that's about. That's not really Metroid.
Well, it's also
scary.
Team Ninja. There's much to admire with them, but they don't always. They always have such great ambitions, and they do so much well, and then they don't kind of go all the way. I mean, we saw that in both of the Ninja Gaidens. I mean, the mere fact that Ninja Gaiden 2 was released with a camera that seemed to have like nominal improvements over the original Ninja Gaiden. It's There is something, I hate to say, very Japanese about them, and not ever like kind of seeing what the market is asking for in terms of performance. That does make me a little bit concerned.
So this is one of those instances where we want the Iron Fist of Nintendo to come in and be like, no, that's wrong. That's wrong. Fix that. Fix that. The way they did with Prime, the first one.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously Retro just figured out what was right, and then they were able to knock two more.
The creator of Metroid is the the producer on those, and he didn't work on Metroid Prime, but he is watching over Tecmos Hayashi, who was a producer on Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma, and is kind of like the new guy.
And that's why I'm
exactly
on.
This is the first Team Ninja game, I think, in its entirety that is post Itagaki. So this could also be a huge bellwether for what's going to be happening with that company going forward.
I think the E3 trailer was probably, they wanted to come out with kick-ass action to psych you up. So I think that the exploring moments don't make this for as fun of a fanboy E3 trailer. But
you have to wonder, like, did they get it right? Just on my pure like fangirl level of it,
What was another game that you were thinking of?
Halo Reach.
Oh, yes, of course, Halo Reach.
Halo Reach.
What did you guys think? I hate calling it a trailer because that looked like they just kind of lopped part out of the opening cinematic.
I thought it didn't serve it very well.
No,
I thought it was kind of dull.
I was surprised because it didn't even give us something to chew over to figure out what the game is going to be about. There was just nothing. I'm not saying the game is good or bad.
Well,
it was just kind of there.
We already know what the game is about based on the book.
Yeah.
But they should have thrown something in that goes like, what are we going to do with the game that goes beyond the book, or like how are we going to portray this in the game?
Well, the thing is, they did and they didn't. Like they essentially gave away what was sort of leaked in the screenshots before, that it seems like it's going to be a class-based game, because there's a line in the trailer that says "Leave the lone wolf stuff behind." So it seems like this is. And we had gotten hints from the leaked screenshots that it's going to be class-based, but we were kind of wondering if that was maybe just multiplayer only. But
it
seems like with the 5 different characters they were showing, and plus you have that line, they're not telling you much, but it does seem to confirm, yes, we are doing a class-based Battlefield type thing. You don't think it would be
co-op only, or that you're always going to have AI support?
Maybe.
I mean, one of the things...
It might be just like ODST did.
I mean, I enjoy co-op in Halo, but at the same time, the story does not work if you're playing it in co-op, and that if they've decided to finally do where it works with the story, but I'm always wondering, would that be at the deficit of really playing it by yourself?
You're going to need a strong central character, and I haven't read the Reach book, so I don't know if there's that 1 or 2 strong characters, because you don't have Master Chief.
Have you guys read the Reach books?
No.
Yeah, and I would like to say there is no shame in that.
No.
Summon Matt Kyle.
I read books about not video games. I play video games, and then I read books that are not about video games.
I usually, I tend not to read as narrative-heavy books as I expect to have narrative-heavy video games.
My guess is that it'll probably be like the single player will probably be you play as the different classes, which is almost kind of a primer for the multiplayer, but that. You probably this actually might make single player a little more interesting, because maybe when you play with 2, 3, or 4 other people, instead of just being Master Chief, 2.0, you might actually be able to pick a different class, like be support during the single player.
The Spartan Sniper or the Spartan Demo.
I think that could make co-op a little more interesting.
Let's read a comment from Boner Jam.
Boner Jam.
It really sounds like it's kind of a small arts festival.
I've been waiting all show for this.
After the show, Adam, we have theories on Boner Jam.
Well, I don't know. All I'm just going to say is that might be the one festival they don't have at Telluride, and so I'm recommending that they get that together.
Like when I see people's gamer tags or their PSN IDs, and it's like, why would you represent yourself like that?
Boner Jam is the best name on G4TV.com. I'll say it.
You have at least 2 pharmaceutical companies that would be excellent sponsors for Boner Jam. All right, yeah.
He has a very insightful comment.
They could have a tent if it's gone past 4 hours. that you go to seek help. All right, let's read what Boner Jam has to say. I think we've said it all for him. I'm not much of a Halo fan, but I did like the trailer. If each Spartan plays fairly different, then I might have some interest. A good story might help too. People can say all the Halo games have a good story, but I bought and beat Halo 3, and that was just a waste. I think waste is a heavy thing. I just don't know what happened.
See, that's the thing, and that's why I liked ODST, was that you didn't have to be so... feel like I have to read the
mythology.
Read the mythology and read the Wikipedia page. Like ODST, I knew the most. I played the game, so I know what's going on. But I felt like you always had to read the books to understand what they were talking about. And with ODST, you didn't. And so I kind of see with the guy, he's being an extreme example.
Yeah, I agree, but I didn't also find the game that compelling either. I mean, outside of Firefight, I was just kind of like, it's a shooter.
I mean, it is. It didn't. Yeah, there is. I felt it didn't have the same kind of thrust to want to get through that Halo 3 did, because you do have this epic end of the world thing happening. But at the same time, I just kind of knew that the world was ending and the flood were bad, and I couldn't put all those pieces together. I actually, those things you can find that have the extra data.
Yeah.
The first one I found was at the very end of the game,
I did that too.
At which I then learned that there were these things they had not found the entire time I've been playing.
But to his point, like, I'm a sucker for class-based things. So, and especially multiplayer, but also in single player. So I'm definitely. I mean, I play every Halo game, so I will also play this one.
When you're looking at sort of the class-based nature, I mean, are you seeing that you're going to also want to see? I don't want to say RPG because that's kind of tired, but that you would want to see improvements in how you perform as that class as the game goes on, or that you start a sniper and you kind of just play through.
I like seeing upgrades. I mean, to each class, accuracy going up or damage, or just kind of back to Borderlands.
Borderlands. That's exactly what I was getting at.
Back to Borderlands. I love that, and at the same time, I don't need that because I play plenty of games that that have class-based kind of structure where you don't really have a level up. You just learn how to use it very well.
Or maybe you have something like Team Fortress 2, where you have kind of the basic set of tools, but they're the variety in the situations you use.
That's the one that I was subtly referring to.
I think, I mean, I think that could really be a game changer for how we approach the Halo series.
Well, and I think this is going to be, which all makes it important, this is going to be Bungie's first response to Modern Warfare. ODST doesn't really count. It was just sort of, Firefight was an add-on. We're going to see what did Bungie take away from Modern Warfare that they thought was important. Halo was the de facto multiplayer experience. Now, Call of Duty largely is, not to discount, Halo still has a very large following, but I think it's kind of looked at that in Infinity Ward is trailblazing, and now we need to see what Halo does.
And it's worth pointing out that when you say Modern Warfare, you mean Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, because outside of ODST, we have not seen anything from Bungie. So really, there's this whole new trend from Infinity Ward that we really have not seen a response from.
I would love Valve just come out of the woodwork and be like, here's another Counter-Strike, and then it would just be like crazy. I don't know.
Oh, no.
It'd be awesome.
And then Duke Nukem Forever comes out.
Right.
2010 just got crazy.
Oh, boy.
And Daikatana 2. We're going to read a quick comment from Dark Knight 45757. Does that mean like all the other Dark Knights have been taken up until that number?
We have 4,000 Dark Knights on G4TV.com.
That's
so
amazing.
impossible to follow conversations.
And I'm Tweedledee and Tweedledum, just so you know. This game does need to be all about story, he says. The book Halo Reach was a great story and got into the background of how the Spartans became who they are and details the beginning and shaping of the Master Chief. Multiplayer is always good, but I really hope the story is awesome this time around. Trailer looks great. Hopefully so will the game. I guess this is a personal thing. This is just for video games. But anyone who ever says, well, if you had read the books. I'm like, but that's... No, I should be able to get everything I need from the primary medium. End of story. It's just, if you can fill in the background.
The book should be enhancement to what's being presented.
Yeah, exactly. Like that Tom Bombadil thing that Tolkien wrote back then. No, that's just stupid.
That's not obscure. That doesn't count.
No, it really
Although
doesn't.
maybe most kids have probably just seen the movies.
And you know what?
I hope that's
They're better
not
than
true.
the books. I don't like the books. It's all about eating.
Ooh.
Yeah, and Tolkien is not that good a writer. I got to be frank. It's just one of those. I love the stories, but
That's a real Boner Jam comment.
Boner Jam.
Adam will. Yeah. So let's see what's going to happen to me after making that one.
Adam, what are you looking forward to?
Oh, good. Splinter Cell Conviction.
Yes.
I'm very, 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 very excited about.
As am I.
Yum.
I think because this was one of the ones this year where what we thought we were going to get, we just didn't get. We got something just completely different that was kind of knocked me off my
Awesome
chair.
looking. Yeah.
And it's they understood what was my biggest complaint about Splinter Cell, which is it stopped being a stealth game and became a slow game. And there's a way to feel very stealthy but move very quickly, like a ninja. And it just there's just all those nice, and then obviously the whole writing on the walls, all that stuff. That I know some people are like, I don't know if that's going to work out. That is just so cool looking that I can't imagine A, it's overused, and B, there isn't other cool looking stuff, equitable to that's going to be happening throughout the game. I mean, it looks like everyone here is equally as excited for Conviction, and boy, this puppy's been in the works for a long time. How long?
And if you like almost 4 years now, and it's funny if you go back and look at like the original trailer, it was based on that was at the same time they were developing the original Assassin's Creed. So if you go back and look at the original Conviction trailer, you'll see Sam Fisher like doing the Altair like as he's pushing through the crowd,
Swimming through the crowd.
And it's clearly it's now completely divergent. But as someone that essentially just played Metal Gear instead of playing Splinter Cell, like I just chose a side because I didn't want to play that many stealth games. This one looks so good that I am totally on board. They got me.
I think Montreal, that team up there, or those teams, are just ridiculous. I want to go visit there, and I really want to see people climbing over buildings.
That's how they get into work every day.
Yeah, it is the most nimble city in the Western Hemisphere, or something like that. Look at the
they got Da Vinci gliders between buildings.
Oh yes, and it's all in 3D. We're gonna read a comment from Taco Clone. That's pretty good. This is interesting, Taco Clone says. I feel as though big name games like this in Modern Warfare 2 are really setting the bar for co-op, because there is co-op that is in Splinter Cell Conviction. Meaning that I figure most games are going to aim for co-op settings set aside from the normal single-player game.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, Uncharted 2 did that. We are saying that obviously Modern Warfare 2 did that. And in this, because really it makes no sense to have co-op with the storyline, because it's all about Sam Fisher going, I don't like anybody. My daughter's dead. I'm going to kill you all. And you don't say, hey, buddy, come for the ride. It makes no sense.
Right.
He's really crotchety in this one.
Oh, yeah. That's how Sam Fisher talks. He's like, no, God, I'm going to stop you, bad man.
Oh, Tom
Somebody
Clancy.
call the dev team. We have a new voice actor for them.
Yeah, they originally said it was going to be based on George Clooney with the original. Now it's going to be based on crotchety old man. Who probably deserves to be more in Borderlands than he does in Splinter Cell. But the co-op, I mean, they had that. Was the Splinter Cell 3 had the co-op?
Chaos Theory? Right?
Yeah, it was a Chaos Theory.
Are you talking about the multiplayer? The
Mercenaries?
Mercenaries versus
Yeah.
spies.
Yes, that's right.
The series has never had single player co-op
Right.
until Conviction, right?
Or narrative co-op.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't think so.
A user will answer
But
for us
if-
in the
I know,
comments.
right?
If they did, it wasn't memorable. So
if they did, I didn't play with anyone.
So I mean, I guess have any of you guys seen any of the co-op in action?
No.
No,
I've
they
only read
just
the
announced
description,
it.
which is like what? It's like 6 or so co-op missions
It's leading
set
up
sold
to
before.
Yeah, it's leading up
Which
to
I think
the
is
game.
pretty cool, but I don't know, like, will I play that before
No,
I
I
sit
would want-
down?
Yeah, it kinda wants you to play it first.
I want to play the co-op first, but, I don't know. Like, that's sort of a weird setup, like, how important is that to the main story?
I can't imagine it's essential.
Yeah.
It's like there might be some events that happen in the main story that are then further illuminated. It's like, go read the book. If you read the books, then if you played the co-op, then you would know that guy was actually French or something.
Essential
I
details.
have to do single player, then co-op, then
Yeah.
multiplayer.
Yeah,
That's how it works.
Every game, it doesn't matter how much I'm looking forward to maybe one part over the other. It's always
yeah.
like that.
Well,
Always.
I think for all of us that we're used to at some point in time getting the game ahead of everyone else at work because we get to review
Right.
it. And it's like you run home and play the single player because that's like your only option at that time. So,
True.
The one other game that I am quite excited for is Red Dead Redemption, just because
Me too.
it's because it's a Western. And I part of me thinks that this might be the best game that I, yes, Abby, I know which I know.
You know why I'm laughing.
Okay, so before I go into why I love Red Dead Redemption, I'd like to say
Let's get
that
it out of the way.
Abby and I and Sterling McGarvey went to go check out the game the last time that Rockstar rolled into town to show it off. And we all were very impressed with the muscle structure and animation for the horse. Now you have to imagine what part of the horse you're
Which part?
seeing for the majority of the
So
game.
I-
Abby, please say what you
No,
said.
I was like, wow, that is the best looking horse's ass I've ever seen.
Yes.
And you've seen a lot of horse ass.
Yes. And you know what? I got to concur.
Sterling has it on tape.
There's something
also
hypnotic
wrote it in this
about
preview.
this horse's ass. And that usually they're trying to distract you with the swishy of the tail. But no, here, you're just looking at the ass muscles. and the way they just kind of ripple and undulate as it steps across the plains of Mexico.
I got nothing.
Yeah. And if that's what we already knew was good in the game, then you can only imagine how good the actual part of people are going to come
If
to.
the ass physics are that good, then you know the rest has got to be great.
I'm
I
actually very
love
excited.
Westerns, and they clearly have taken their cue not from, which I think is still the archetypal Western, which is like High Noon, which I'm just gonna upset a lot more people with this. I know it was a great movie back in the day. It's just kind of boring by my standards. It has all the archetypes and stuff in that, but it's like, hey, I love Gary Cooper, but
You
I
can't see the look that Joe is making behind you.
He's probably furious at me right now. But I came to the Western with the Sergio Leones, and that's definitely what they're taking their cue from. That kind of gothic, operatic, very quiet, lone man feeling. And I gotta say, Abby, I just felt that they were just getting that to a T. Just that way that you could just smell the air in the game.
It was beautiful, and just how big the area that you're working with in that game is incredible. But at the same time, even when we were like very far out in the desert, kind of away from where we would find missions or something, there were still very dynamic things going on in the world and things that we were stumbling across, and wonderful. I could just spend a day like watching animals.
And it seems like that wandering, that because you're not dealing with cities on the level of, say, like San Andreas, where you have these three massive cities, that you have these little pockets of population, some larger than others. And I think some that you will be directed to by the narrative, and others you can just come upon, and they have like very organic side missions that seem to be there. You just say, help, 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 there are bandits here.
And the game is just so spectacularly beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so impressive.
But yeah, that was the other thing. Is it was, as we were both sitting there watching the game, we're like, God, I want to go to Puerto Vallarta. Because we were watching the Mexico sequence, and it's just all those memories of Mexico started coming back. I think it's going to be the most challenging game for them to sell.
See, that's the thing. I feel like this is already based on what you guys have said. When I've talked to other people that have seen it, this is very much turning into like the first. People are pretty sure this is like a critical darling for 2010, and people. It's coming out in April, which is a weird month. And I think this is very quickly become one of those games like we're pretty sure this is going to be amazing. We want this to sell well. And Take-Two could use it would be great to see if we could see more Western games and stuff like that, or at least taking risks in different types of settings.
Well, that's the thing,
with something this ambitious.
People love Westerns, they do, but not everyone loves Westerns. It's not
I
like
think for younger
something
kids,
that,
it's not an understood genre as it
Right.
was back in the 60s, but it was the cops and robbers of the 60s.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's been very interesting. I do want to hit a reader question of the week. It's from JTHM Rocks. So I guess he's probably saying that he himself, somehow an acronym of JTHM Rocks. I've
Johnny the
never
Homicidal
been
Maniac.
Ready?
It's
Here-
a Jonah Vasquez comic. It's awesome. It was one of my favorites growing up. Yeah.
There it is. My bad.
There we go.
Boom.
But he's
Boom.
about to say something that's kind of like what I've been saying all episode long. I've never been a Zelda fan, says JTHM Rocks.
What?
I kind of enjoyed Ocarina, but that was really about it. Same for every Mario game I've ever played,
What?
including Mario 64.
All right, now you lost all of us there.
Yeah. While I believe this has more to do with me being raised in a Genesis household or just my age and preferences, it got me thinking, what respected gaming franchises have you never grasped? I kind of like this question. I'll start it with you. We're running out of time, so we shouldn't linger too long here.
Very quickly, when I was writing down like in the pre-show, I was thinking like, okay, World of Warcraft, all right, MMOs, like Dragon Warrior, JRPGs. Like there aren't like specific franchises I can think of that like I just don't get. They're really just like genres, like fighting games, simulation driving,
RTS.
Actually, I used
For
to
me,
get-
it's RTS.
Yeah,
like
but
StarCraft, Command & Conquer, I wish I could love them, but it just confounds me.
I'm with you. I can only pay attention to one thing at one time, and it's God. That answers so many questions about me.
I'm not a sports person because I actually like to play sports, and I kind of feel. But I mean, I get the game. That's the thing is, for most of the franchises that I wouldn't say I'm into or really enjoy, I totally understand why other people like them. It's very
Yeah.
hard for
Yeah.
me to find one that I'm like, oh God, I don't even understand why anybody likes that.
Yeah.
Well, the one for me, I think it's Final Fantasy. I do kind of get why other
Okay,
people
yeah.
get it, but for Final Fantasy, given the way that it's not the same story or the same characters, I would think with 13 tries, one of those iterations would have actually resonated with me, and it is lost. I mean, it's just I don't like the combat system because I think it's not as dynamic as what I would get out of a more Western kind of approach to that type of an RPG, and the story just makes me want to just kind of just stick a pencil in my ear.
Yeah.
Because it's funny because I'm reading
I
the story,
actually do
not
get
actually
it, and
hearing
I've
it.
spent God knows how many hours playing Final Fantasy games, and and from time to I see why people care about them that much. It's just a lot of times. I mean, there's only every so often an iteration of the game that really appeals to me.
Right.
It's just I think if you pick and choose your way through the series,
the
there's
thing
a
is-
lot of really good games. In
Yeah,
it.
it's like the JRPG, I list as something I don't like, but I like it every once in a while. So it's like when I want to scratch that specific itch, like instead of playing like every generic game that Namco puts out, Tales of something, like it's just Final Fantasy. I may not love it, but I like it, and it sort of gets rid of that itch for that kind of game.
The World
And it
Ends
com-
with You was a little bit reinvigorated my interest.
That was at least like progressive for that sort of genre.
I mean,
but
Dark
it's-
Cloud. If they did another Dark Cloud, I probably would jump in on that one. Because I mean, but granted, that was real time combat, and that's probably one of the sticking
But I think
points.
everyone just kind of has a lot of us have kind of moved beyond like the Japanese like archetypes for games in terms of their like gameplay design. But every once in a while, it's like Final Fantasy comes out like what every 3 years. So I'll sit down and I'll play a Final Fantasy. I'll enjoy it, and then I'm not going to play another game like that till the next Final Fantasy comes
I also
out.
wonder how old he is because I was never allowed to have consoles growing up, which is why I was a PC gamer until the Genesis. But at the same time, all of my friends had a Nintendo, and we'd go over to everybody's houses and we'd play a lot. But my brother, his first introduction really was Genesis because that era of going over and playing Nintendo with all your buddies had kind of passed. And he has no real idea. He's a huge gamer, but he doesn't have any kind of sense of history, and he doesn't really get Zelda or Mario. I think
like
on the
the
level
same
that
for
most
me,
people
like,
I know. It's
I started
an
with
age thing.
NES, so before NES, like Commodore 64, Amigas, that stuff doesn't resonate with me, and I didn't have like a PC growing up until like college. So most of the early generation PC stuff,
I'm like you. I mean, it's.
I wish I did,
Yeah,
but-
you know what? For me, the early generation PC stuff. But I pretty much gravitated to the PC quite quickly once I had one that could run games, and I realized I needed to. For
I wonder how he
for
feels about the
work.
Sonic series.
I bet he likes them. I don't know how he feels
used
about
to.
them now. I don't know how he feels about them now.
I used to love them.
All right. Well, you know what? With that, we are ending 2009.
Happy New Year!
Yeah.
Where's
Happy
the
New Year.
confetti?
Feedback? No. I was going to spring for confetti, and we didn't have the cash. But,
No balloons, no.
Yeah,
Tough economic times.
In fact, I'm taking the
Thanks a lot,
casters
Adam.
off of all of your stools because I need to get some cab fare back home from here.
Next time,
All right, guys.
confetti.
Thanks.
Confetti.
Happy. Patrick Klepek, Andrew Pfister. That's feedback for 2009. We'll see you again next year. I'm out of here.